Buffy, it's hideous. Oh my God, Buffy. Look at its arms.
I know. But it's my duty. I'm Buffy the bridesmaid.
Duty schmoody.
Why don't we start with pie?
Let's do a drinking game for this one. Have a shot every time I say costume designer.
Life is stupid.
Previously, we have discussed the role of the costume designer in general terms, how color palettes are a way of communication in cinema and costumes, how art is often an inspiration for costumes, and I have shown you a list of interesting movies to check. So it's now time to discuss how much input in the look the costume designer has on a character. As we said, the costume designers do not dress the cast in luxurious clothes for the sake of it, nor leave the casting in their clothes, even when the show is set in present time. Sounds obvious, I reckon, but sometimes we don't think about costumes for TV series, am I right? The outfits are somewhat normal or even ugly sometimes, which got you think, who is dressing them like this? Probably we don't even give too much attention to it, we are focused on the story. But that's unfair, because these outfits are telling us so many secrets. Costumes don't have to be crafted by hand, as Linda Muir did in The Witch or The Bewitched. Creating them from scratch is not essential, as an attire can be bought or even rented for a show. But the research and the study of the character are intense anyway. Today I'm going to take into account Cynthia Bergstrom's work for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy the Vampire Slayer costumes. Why?
What kind of name is Buffy? Hey, Aphrodisiac. Oh, hey!
Well, first of all, I know the subject incredibly well. I have watched the series I don't know even how many times, so many times, and I have got no will to stop ever. Second, I think the long-running TV shows like Buffy, which has 7 seasons, can show us how the wardrobe of a character and the essence of it get created and nurtured, developed and changed through seasons, and how the costume designer helps us empathize more with the characters. Third, I think TV shows' costumes are somewhat unknown or underrated compared to cinema ones. I think they are an excellent example of how great costumes are instead. So, let's begin. Buffy the Vampire Slayer is a supernatural drama TV series which ran from 1997 to 2003. Buffy features some of the most significant episodes of television ever made. I'm serious, Google it. And according to Charles Arthur, author of Digital Wars, the first reference to Google as a verb took place on October 15, 2002, during an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer in season 7.
No real info here.
Have you Googled her yet?
Willow, she's 17.
Buffy is an exceptional TV show and one of the few that has 3 different levels of interpretations. First level, a blonde, delicate but super strong girl fights the forces of evil, most often vampires and some monsters of the week, punch people in the face, yada yada. Second level, the monsters are indeed metaphors of the fears and anxiety an adolescents go through in the path to adulthood. Buffy needs to fight her demons in order to grow up. Check the channel Passion of the Nerd for more. Third level. That is meta to me. Some of the characters are themselves shadow self of Buffy, and Buffy as well is... I refuse to spoil much. If eventually you want to look further, I recommend the book of Mark Field, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Myth, Metaphor and Morality. I'm not the first to analyze this TV show. Buffy is notable for attracting students as a topic of literary study and analysis. But few have called attention to the work of costume designer Cynthia Bergstrom, who helped establish many trends that have since cycled in and out and back in again. So the credited costume designer for Buffy the Vampire Slayer was Cynthia Bergstrom. But it kind of goes like that. Costume designed by Susanna Puisto for season 1, Cynthia Bergstrom from season 2 to 6, Terry Dresbach and Matthew Van Dyne for season 7, plus Eileen Dunn covering various episodes, plus many other members of the department, uncredited, some of which I've credited already in my previous video. The initial costume designer for the series, Susanna Puisto, was let go for reason unknown when Bergstrom took the reins. Bergstrom officially joined Buffy for the premiere of season 2 and stuck around for 5 seasons. She worked on 110 episodes of the series, 144 in total, which took Buffy from junior year of high school into adulthood, with a brief stint as a fast food worker along the way. At first, Joss Whedon told her the vision for the characters, but as the time has gone on, she had complete control over what to put on the characters. I have been working on Buffy for 5 seasons now, and I know the characters like the back of my hand, she said. Cynthia Bergstrom loved the control she had in her area of the show. That was the beautiful thing about this show. I was able to shop and build so many of the costumes because Buffy afforded me the ability to design. Thinking that characters change costumes at least twice during an episode, you understand that a costume department needs to be together and be organized. Bergstrom explained how it works. They attach a wardrobe tag on the garment. The label tag explains the entire outfit in details, with the scene number and the change number. They also attach a Polaroid of the cast wearing the outfits in the wardrobe fitting. Then they add a Polaroid of the jewelry for the ensembles, so they know exactly what piece goes with each costume. Do they share the same costumes? How many copies do they need for a show or a movie? It depends. For Bergstrom, everything starts when you got the script. You break it down and you see what is necessary for each scene in each episode. And you know, you have to have 5 of an item, for example. You understand you need to stay on budgets. You have to be careful with budgets. As we said, the costume designer collabs with other creative teams. Cynthia Bergstrom, with Buffy, had to be in close contact with the makeup and special effects team. She had to know things like if she needed to cover up a particular part of the body of a character, if these things was done by special effects, for example. Working with hair and makeup on certain outfits was essential as well, to make sure that it all coincides and coordinates together. The costume designer got a personal vision of characters, like Cynthia got her view of Anya Jenkins in Buffy. I always saw Anya's character as a throwback to the movie stars of the 30s and 40s, or how she loved the ease of dressing Willow. There was always something for her character. She has said that to these days she still finds perfect Willow pieces in stores. I grew up watching horror films and creature films from the 60s and 70s on rainy Saturdays afternoons. I remember the women dressed in ethereal, sort of Josephine-esque bodices, very much the Napoleonic era. And I did draw on a painting of Josephine Bonaparte. I was just like, that is so Drusilla.
Drusilla.
That was the white dress.
Look at all the people. Are these nice people?
We're getting along.
Do you like daisies? I plant them, but they always die. Everything I put in the ground withers and dies.
Working for so long with the same cast can create some blends between the characters and the actor who portrays them, for the costume designer I mean. Cynthia always had Sarah Michelle Gellar, SMG, in her mind with outfits when shopping. Sarah loved sushi, so when Cynthia saw this pyjama, she just had to have them for her. It was a thing that she liked to do, give her fun and super cute things.
That probably would have sounded more commanding if I wasn't wearing my yummy sushi pajamas.
Or for Tony Head, asking if he can finally get Giles out of Tweed. At the time, Whedon wanted to keep Giles in Tweed, but as Giles' character changed and pulled away from being the school librarian/watcher, Cynthia was able to help Tony and incorporate a few sweaters with jeans and then shirts. Then, when he became the owner of the Magic Box, it made perfect sense to change him and have him start wearing more fashionable suits. So it was really Tony who started and then evolved Giles' look from the first concept. Costume designers, cheers, are so keen on their vision of the outfits they put times even in small detail, like in the infamous Double Meat Palace uniform. Cynthia Bergstrom designed the uniform herself, but unfortunately you cannot see well how cute the small buttons were. They were chicken buttons that she wore with that cup. And after she pointed them out, now I noticed them in all the uniforms during the episode.
Wow. They're all so identical.
Yeah, they all start to look the same to me, too.
Oh, no, not the employees, the chicken slices.
And gosh, I thought my uniform cap was the one hard to wear.
You don't need to go in there either.
The arc of Buffy Summers' wardrobe. Each year, Cynthia changed her wardrobe according to what her character arc was. Each season, there was a different theme that Buffy experienced, so her wardrobe was dictated upon the mood and the tone of the season. And of course, it was like buying new school clothes each year, where fashion somewhat dictated how kids would dress. Bergstrom wanted Buffy to wear the latest fashion and be on point with trends, including setting trends, as she did quite often. She definitely had her school clothes and her fight clothes.
Run.
As Buffy grew up, of course, some of the choices matured with her styling, cut, color, etc. At the end of season 6, she was unquestionably a different person than what she was at the beginning of season 2.
You glow.
That's because the dress is radioactive.
Her wardrobe became more serious as time went on for her arc story. She started in the first seasons wearing miniskirts and super bright colors. Her clothing reflected an innocence and youthful charm. As she accepted her calling and began training and fighting evil, her costumes became more about function and a reflection of what was going on internally. When Dawn showed up, and then when her mother died, there was an immense shift from being a teenage girl to a woman trying to hold it all together.
How have you been? Rat. You? Dead.
She wore darker, more serious pieces and cozier clothing that gave the feeling of self-protection. especially after season 6.
Hi, I'm an enormous Hello, would you like a copy of The Watchtower? I used to be so good at this.
Do you think that costume designers sometimes look at their works and thinks, oh my god, what I was thinking, that is so out of fashion now? It seems like yes, as Bergstrom said. Did I have a color meltdown? Was there a color explosion? There was a time, primarily the second and third season, and it was very fashionable at the time, but it has so much color in each episode. It was what we were going after, as counteracting the darkness and the heaviness, monsters and demons. But some of the pieces that I chose, I think, oh my lord, what I was thinking. I did not see Buffy when it aired, because in Italy it premiered around 2001. I watched it when I was around 12 or so, a few years later.
Are you going out tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to a club.
Oh, will there be boys there?
No, Mom, it's a nun club.
I remember that costumes didn't shine at the time. Probably they were on trend when it first aired, but around 2002-03 and until at least 2017, most of the outfits were defined as horribles. Someone in March 2017 wrote, Buffy the Vampire Slayer has aged well, but her style has not. A fan-created Twitter account, Bad Buffy Outfits, is spotlighting some of the more regrettable fashion choices from the series on its 20th anniversary. Cynthia Bergstrom was aware. Then someone asked her thoughts on an interview. I loved the arc of Willow. Willow was this little girl who wore overalls and pink fuzzy sweaters. I have been razzed a little bit about that online Bad Buffy outfits. It's like, oh, the horrible outfits on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Which cracks me up. It is like I was dressed in a Carter, you know? I thought it was funny that this woman was going all out, but eventually Willow became more powerful. That reflects in her clothing too. The first time was really when she became Bad Willow and when she went to the dark side. Her clothing became more dull and gloomy and more form-fitted and a lot more contemporary. I remember the Buffy bra straps would sometimes show through her tank tops. So a lot of the fans was starting drinking games. They will take a shot or a beer every time that they saw a bra strap. Cynthia will get fan mail about it. Then people will try and figure out what the hidden dark meaning was, which was nothing. And I found this drinking game dated March 2003. And last but not least, anytime Cynthia Bergstrom is given free rein and as Buffy slaying in anything improbable, impractical or just plain ugly, take a shot. Not a sip, a shot. Some of those clothes are damn ugly and lords know I always go patrolling in a nice fuzzy white sweater. Willow wears an atrocious monstrosity of a sweater or an hat. Take 2 shots. Have you looked at her sweaters? Tara is dressed in a flattering garb. Take a sip. It's horrible, but at least it's not a big fuzzy green sweater from Elle, right? A bit harsh, isn't it? Yes. I think this right now as a young working adult. But no, as a teen I shared some of these thoughts. But in recent years I bit my tongue and cracked some of the outfits, sunglasses and coats in the series. Oh, and do I need to remind you that one of her iconic leather outfits got her space at the Madame Tussauds? And trends always comes back. The work of Cynthia Bergstrom in Buffy is on trend again. It regains popularity around 2018, with fans talking around on the net and new fans still getting hooked, and she deserves it all. I love that fans still love Buffy. I love that there are new fans every day. Ultimately, this is a story about empowerment and finding inner strength in times of great peril and hardship. These themes are relatable to people because these themes continue to exist in our lives. It brings me great joy to know that people who watch this series find the means to their own inner strength. I have received so many letters over the years, people telling me how the series and the costuming helped them get through some obstacles and struggles in their lives. It gives meaning and purpose to what I do and did. And I'm happy to hear that Buffy has had such a positive impact on so many lives. Cynthia Bergstrom. So, next time we are going to take into account one of the characters in Buffy the Vampire Slayer to give a clear example of how color, psychology and fashion shape a character in TV series. Thanks for watching, stay tuned for the next one, and bye bye!